Yo, we are gonna try this again. I don't know what was going on earlier. I was trying to hop on here, give y'all some good content about what was going on with I got Sean Combs, and lo and behold, I was having some struggle streaming issues. But hey, I'm back. Mic working, everything looked like it's working. Hey, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is the new look DFD channel where I'm gonna put on a suit and look like I'm official as I give my attorney reactions. Nah, I don't know if this is gonna be the official outfit of DFD's attorney reactions. It's just hey, your boy was working late and I got in and I was like, I'm gonna just do this video because I'm not about to change my clothes. If I change my clothes, I'm probably getting into bed. So if you are new to the channel, I'm Marcus, the debt-free dad. I'm a licensed attorney in a multitude of jurisdictions. None of those jurisdictions amount to me being your counsel. So if you're looking for a professional in anything, seek a professional in your area. Sometimes professionals don't know what they're talking about, but it's a much better bet than listening to a guy on YouTube. That's me, even me. Okay. Now, hey, over here we discuss finances and attorney reactions. This is a reaction to what is trending current news. We got to talk about our boy Sean Combs, Sean Diddy, P Diddy, Puff Daddy Combs. I don't even know if he go by those other two names now, but we got to talk about Sean Combs because he's definitely in the news. And before we even go into the video, because we do got a video we go watch, I'm gonna break it down and I'm gonna give a little feedback on just what's going on, how the search warrant was executed, and everything. But before we even dive in, Diddy took an interesting turn as far as content on this channel. Early on, I remember doing a video of the top 10 hip hop entrepreneurs, and he was like number 4 or 5. Would have been higher, but he got a habit of screwing over his artists. But hey, that's neither here nor there. He actually became hip hop's second billionaire. At the time I did that video a couple years ago, he's worth like 800 million. So I knew, I was like, oh, this dude's about to be the next hip hop billionaire on the list. He hit that milestone of becoming a hip hop billionaire. And so he had a really good trajectory. He had all stuff that was probably terrible, alcohol, and all sorts of stuff that he was selling to everybody. But he was on a real upward trajectory. Lo and behold, how did we get here talking about a search warrant being executed on Diddy's multiple homes? Well, last year it was just a whirlwind of celebrities catching charges back and forth in civil litigation related to sexual offenses that occurred way before DFD was even in this law game. I mean, some as early as 93 and 91. New York had a statute that was called the New York Survivors Act. This statute, in short, it allowed victims or alleged victims to revitalize an old sexual assault claim that may have been barred by the statute of limitations in the past. So literally, we did a video like on Wednesday, and everybody was getting sued left and right. Jamie Foxx, I mean, you name it, and your favorite celebrities was getting lawsuits for sexual assault because everybody was trying to file these cases before the statute expired, which was like midnight. So it was a whirlwind to just sue the hell out of people. Hey, whether or not the allegations are true is just a lawsuit, but it was a whirlwind of lawsuits. Diddy had a lawsuit during this time by Cassie, and he settled it in record time. He actually pissed me off because I did a video talking about it, and right after I did a video going over the damn complaint, civil complaint, the dude settled it. I didn't even have time to react, but I knew he was going to settle it because he had no choice. She had him by the gonads, as some people would like to say. So fast forward. Now we got all these lawsuits. Everybody coming out with lawsuits. Guys coming out with lawsuits. Girls coming out with lawsuits. Women. Everybody coming out with lawsuits against Diddy and all of his crazy parties and his, let's say, sexual proclivities, so to speak. So now they got all these lawsuits. Today, the feds actually raid Diddy's home. So we're going to definitely talk about it. Allegedly or purportedly, it results from an investigation being done by the Southern District of New York. Anybody who's an attorney is familiar with the Southern District of New York because the Southern District of New York is where you go to practice if you want to make a name for yourself. If you can prosecute cases for the Southern District of New York, or you nice on the defense side in the Southern District of New York, that's where people go to make names for themselves. A lot of justices on the North on a lot of justice on the U.S. Supreme Court have come out of the Southern District of New York, the D.C. Circuit. So there's certain cities you go to where you can make a legal name for yourself, and the Southern District of New York is one of them. A vast majority of the cases that they oversee are cases that happen in Manhattan. So you see a lot of white collar crimes from the Southern District of New York. So two of his homes got raided today, a home in Los Angeles, a home in Miami. Now, before we even start, I want y'all to chime in on a poll because I put a poll up and I want a yes or no answer. Do you all think that Diddy is going to be arrested within the next 12 months? I didn't say convicted. I didn't say on trial. It's a real low standard for someone to get arrested. But do you all think that this dude is going to be arrested in the next 12 months? Y'all chime in on the poll and let me know. So we're going to go ahead, go to the video, cue it up because I'm not staying in this suit all night because it's late out here. But we're going to cue this video up. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on, why two homes were raided, what evidence they may have. I'm going to touch on it as we get into the topic. It was a gazillion videos related to this situation. So I was like, which one to use? Which one to use? So we're going to take a look at good old CNN.
The Department of Homeland Security has just confirmed to CNN that federal law enforcement agents have raided properties owned by musician and producer Sean Diddy Combs. Let's bring in CNN security correspondent Josh Campbell and CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson. Josh, let me start with you. What do these raids by federal agents in multiple locations tell you about the seriousness of this investigation?
Yeah, Wolf, a very significant development here.
All right, so I'm gonna answer some of these questions briefly, but normally, and your boy DFD got a little bit of familiarity with federal search warrants, criminal defense, all that other stuff. If you don't know, but normally when there are multiple properties, it's not uncommon for law enforcement to raid the properties simultaneously. The reason that this is done is because they don't want to have a loss of evidence. They don't want to have a loss of evidence. If property a search warrant is executed, you got to think somebody like Diddy, somebody with worth billions of dollars, they have people at every property probably 24/7. If the law enforcement raids property A and that property B simultaneously, they actually run the risk of losing evidence. Because that's what I would do if y'all raiding one house and not the other. I'm gonna be like, yo, flush all that stuff and destroy it, burn it, throw it in the grill or something like that. So normally when you see law enforcement raid multiple properties simultaneously, it's an effort to prevent the destruction of evidence. So just so y'all know, just so y'all know, that's the rationale as to why multiple places were raided simultaneously.
This law enforcement action taking place. I'll point out, just to be clear at the outset, we don't know that Sean Diddy Combs himself is the subject or target of a federal investigation. So,
all right, let's talk about that real quick. We don't know. Officially, I think that is true. Okay, we don't know because we don't have any guidance. Speculation is it's an investigation allegedly around sex trafficking. But it is true technically. We don't know if he's the subject of the investigation. But let's just use our common sense hat here. We're gonna put our common sense hat on. If multiple homes that one individual owns gets raided by law enforcement, they aren't there just for shits and giggles. Okay, they have probable cause that some judge looked at and said, "Hey, there's enough facts here to show that either a crime occurred, a crime is going to occur, or one is evidence of a crime that has occurred in the past." So some judge signed off on this. They had some facts enough to get a judge to sign off on a search warrant. There's no way in hell that the feds would run up in every property, multiple properties that I own, and the investigation is not about me. Is it possible? It is possible. Is it plausible? Nah. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say I'm 99.999% sure that we know who the target was in this case. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I know you got to do something, man. Like, and that's the other thing too. Like, this dude is allegedly a serial video recorder. Like, yeah, when you're doing crazy stuff, the only recollection you should probably have of it is your memory. But hey, I guess I don't know. People want to relive that moment or whatever. But this dude got to start recording shit.
It's just worth pointing that out at this hour. But what we do know is that 2 properties associated with him, we saw the feds descend on those properties. We saw on aerial footage, federal agents both here in the Los Angeles area as well as in Miami at those residences. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, their what's called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, gave CNN a statement. I'll read you part of that when asked about what this activity is. They say that earlier today, HSI New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. That is it, confirming that they are conducting what they're deeming law enforcement action, which could indicate search warrants being conducted there, could indicate arrests being conducted. We just don't know at this hour specifically what that law enforcement action is. It is worth pointing out, though, that Combs himself obviously has faced significant legal woes in recent months. I'll give you just a kind of the high.
All right, before he run through this, let's talk about something real quick. They talked about Homeland Security, and a lot of people, were probably like, "Well, why the hell is Homeland Security at this dude's house if it's purportedly related to sexual trafficking and human trafficking?" Well, long story short, when these search warrants are done, I mean, let's just put this into context. Did y'all see the size of this dude? That's not a house. That's an estate. That's a compound. Like, that dude has multiple acres, tens of thousands of square feet. There's probably hundreds of staffers working in there at any given time. Law enforcement just doesn't have the manpower to do it. So normally what you would see is, in a situation like this, multiple properties, large ass properties, a lot of people on the premises. They're probably going to have a joint effort. It's going to be some type of task force where you'll have local, local law enforcement, some law enforcement, alphabet boys. If it's drugs and guns, it may be DEA, FBI, local county sheriffs, local police departments. But something like this is pretty much all hands on deck, because they got to have enough people to control the situation. You can't go search a damn house like Diddy's house with 5 people. Man, there's gonna be all sorts of people going out the back with VHS cassette tapes from Freaknik in '94. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. So most common scenario is it was a joint effort where they use multiple law enforcement so that they can control the scene. So you'll see as this video plays, everybody was going off like, "Oh, they got his son in custody. His son was implicated in the lawsuits." Like, hey, those lawsuits are just lawsuits. The reason that they probably had the persons in the house, and I believe one of them, according to reports, or a few of them may have been his sons, but the reason they were in custody is because when law enforcement is doing a search of a property, they have to control the scene. Part of controlling the scene is making sure the people on the scene aren't running around making phone calls, aren't leaving the scene, aren't trying to destroy evidence. So it's not uncommon to temporarily detain everybody. Even though those persons may not get arrested, it's not uncommon to detain them so that the search can be effectuated. And I would like to see what came out of this search. I'm assuming, hey, this is it's 2024, so it ain't gonna be no paper. It's gonna be all laptops and phones, if they are looking at anything. I can't remember a search warrant that I've been a part of or been to where we left out with a bunch of boxes. Like, this ain't 1752 or the prohibition. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. But I'm sure it's all going to be electronic stuff. I'm sure it's going to be all electronic. They weren't there for the life or death tapes. What I was thinking about, even with, hey, we're going to play this video first and then we'll talk about it. Is a house that big necessary? Hey, when you work for Billion, a house like that is probably like nothing to him. Like, I mean, come on now. We saw how fast he settled that lawsuit. So 300 million to him. That's like toilet paper, probably. He live in a mega church. He live in a TD Jakes compound. That's funny. Some words may hide the goods. Yeah. Versus the housekeepers. Sons Wood may hide the goods. Anybody will hide anything for the right price. Like, come on, you don't think uh you don't think a nice maid or the chef wouldn't destroy something for the right amount of money? I'm just saying, for the right amount of money, everybody will be, not everybody, but most people may be willing to consider doing something wrong and or illegal.
Highlights of what actually occurred in November. He was sued for rape and abuse by a former partner. That lawsuit was then settled very quickly. But in December, he faced sexual assault allegations in a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York. The suit was brought by a woman referred to as Jane Doe, who said that she was 17 at the time when these allegations took place. And back in 2003, he was accused of sex trafficking and gang rape, among other allegations. Also in that suit, naming two of his associates. Of course, Combs denied any wrongdoing.
Hey, let's pause it right there. I don't know if y'all remember, we're going to take a little history lesson right now about sex trafficking, human trafficking, what exactly it is. I actually got a funny story of someone I know who had a bright idea to become the Bishop Don Juan of Alaska, but luckily he was familiar with human trafficking statutes, and he said I probably wouldn't be in my best interest. But we're gonna talk about this. We got to take a history lesson, if you will, on sex trafficking and human trafficking. I don't know if y'all remember the video I did where I was going through Diddy's lawsuit, and one of the things that came up at the time was a photo of a young lady who, and it may have been the same lady they were talking about, but she was 16 or 17 at the time. She said that like Diddy flew her out. Hey, people was getting flued out back in the day. Diddy flew her out. When she got flued out, they met in the studio. You know what happened? It went down in the studio. Diddy had one of his famous F-off sessions. And after that session, like, he takes a picture with this girl sitting on his lap. And I remember the time that I saw that, my first thought was like, man, this dude taking her across state lines, this dude's going to catch a human trafficking charge. I don't know if y'all remember that video, but that's the first thing I said. I said, man, if that's true, this guy might catch a human trafficking charge. Lo and behold, we're here at sex trafficking, human trafficking, all the same thing. Now, where did this originate from? All right, because we got to understand, where did this trafficking law come from? Well, back in the day, during during this time of sharecropping, right? Interracial relationships were frowned upon. So the federal government, the legislature, passed a statute called the Mann Act. It was named after some congressman, James Mann, who was probably racist as fuck, but that's neither here nor there. But they passed this statute called the Mann Act. Well, the Mann Act essentially made it illegal to carry anyone, a woman, across state lines to engage in prostitution or debauchery. What the hell is debauchery? I don't know. If I took someone from Virginia to North Carolina to get my toes sucked, is that debauchery? I don't know. But the statute had debauchery in it, which was BS, because debauchery could be anything. It's really subjective. What you may think is debauchery, DFD might think is just a good time. So the statute said no prostitution, carrying women across state lines, and debauchery. Well, that word debauchery essentially gave law enforcement, a go ahead to pull anyone over. If you were a brother and you were with someone of the other persuasion, you were getting pulled over, you were getting thrown in custody for violation of the Mann Act. Now, later on, that statute was amended a couple of times in the 70s and the 80s to only apply to prostitution. So trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking is all a spinoff of that old school Mann Act. Now, let me bring up the definition just so we can know the actual legal definition of sex trafficking. As soon as I read it, y'all gonna be like, yeah, he probably did one of those. Okay, the history. The Mann Act, previously called the White Slave Trafficking Act of 1910. And like I said, it was pretty much a finesse just to be able to arrest any brother who was going across state lines with a woman of the other persuasion, it would be a violation of that. It later got changed and essentially turned into what we have today for human trafficking and sex trafficking. And let me pull up the actual statute. Damn, I thought I had that. Let's see. Oh, all right, okay. Sex trafficking, 22 USC 7102. Now, hey, I represented some sexual assaults, sexual batteries, some crazy stuff. Never a sex trafficking though. So, hey, this is one I didn't do. I didn't do. No, not that I didn't do. This is one where I haven't provided legal representation and or prosecutorial assistance on. All right, that's better. Not one that I didn't do. That sounds like I'm on my Diddy-ish. All right, sex trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, patronizing, or solicitation of a person for the purpose of commercial sex act in which commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such act has not attained the age of 18-year-old. Now, we just heard them talk about this alleged incident where Diddy transported a 17-year-old from point A to point B, and there was some tomfoolery and shenanigans and debauchery going on. But now that we got a background on what the actual statute is, let's go ahead and finish up this video so we can talk about if we're gonna stop listening to all that good bad boy music and that. Oh man, that dude's responsible for a lot of music, man. Canceling R. Kelly, like, okay, some of his albums fell off after TP2, but whew, oh man, that's a whole nother conversation, man. We had talk about the canceling and or of Sean Combs based on these allegations at a later date.
There, and then just last month, a former employee of his associates, of course, Combs denied any wrongdoing there. And then just last month, a former employee of Combs filed a suit also in the state of New York, accusing him of sexual assault, of sexual harassment, and quote, grooming. That former employee stated that he had worked for Combs between 2022 and 2023. Among those allegations, this former employee, a male employee, said that Combs did not compensate him for his music production work and forced him to procure and interact with sex workers, threatened him with serving alcoholic beverages laced with drugs to guests at parties at Combs' home.
Wow.
And then Combs' son, Justin Combs, was also accused of soliciting prostitutes and underage girls at his father's homes. Again, the Combs have denied any wrongdoing, but just a series of allegations.
Man, yo, if that allegation is true, y'all know how crazy that is. Yeah, you know how that's actually insane. Like, all right, it's one thing if I want to be a sexual deviant, but it ain't no way I'm gonna be like, hey, son, now that you reached the age of majority, I need you to go out there and solicit for your father. If that allegation is true, that might be the stupidest shit I ever heard. Like literally, you should just get prosecuted and thrown in jail for life for stupidity if that allegation is in fact true, because that's a crazy ass allegation
that we've seen taking place. Final point, Wolf, I'll note is that while we don't know the specific allegations or why the feds are at these residences, it is worth pointing out the agency that is conducting this law enforcement activity. It's not the FBI, it's not the DEA or the ATF. This is HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. For those unfamiliar, this is an agency that has long been the forefront specifically at human trafficking investigations. So although we don't have the specifics yet, we're starting to we can glean just based on which agency has the lead, the direction this might go. But again, we don't yet know that Combs himself was the target of the investigation, Wolf. We do know that at this hour that federal agents were at two of his homes, both here in Los Angeles and in Florida, Wolf.
Yeah, important points. And Joey Jackson, now let me repeat, we don't know if Sean Diddy Combs himself is under investigation, but clearly, Joey, it's not good if your homes are actually being raided.
No, it's not, Wolf. And I think whatever conclusions can be drawn remain to be seen, right? There's not an indictment that we're talking about. That means that we're not speaking of a grand jury having rendered a conclusion, not as to guilt. That's not what grand jurors do, but as to reason to believe that a crime was committed and he committed them. Having said that, whenever you have a raid and an investigation, these things need to be really predicated upon, right? The precursor for this to happen would be some probable cause.
All right. So long story short, what Brian Gumble, I ain't Brian Gumble, dude kind of look like Brian Gumble though. But long story short, what this guy's essentially saying is there's stages to get to an actual arrest. The very first thing is the information gathering and investigation. Once they got some facts that establish sufficient probable cause, which means that, hey, criminal activity is afoot. There's evidence of a crime, there's prior evidence of a crime or one that's going to be committed. Some judge somewhere signs off, that's enough to execute a search warrant. Once that search warrant is executed, they grab up all your phones, your laptops, they send them over to the computer forensics guys. They pull out all the stuff, unallocated cluster, slack space. Long story short, it means everything you thought you deleted, you didn't delete. They pull all that off your laptop. Then when they got enough evidence, they gather all that evidence. They carry it to the grand jury. The grand jury looks at the evidence. Prosecutors present it. Grand jury says there's enough to charge this dude with human trafficking, narcotics, whatever. The grand jury, once they come back with a true bill, that means that they can officially charge you with a crime. Normally, what happens next? Arrest warrants issued. They go pick your ass up. You probably have a bond or a highest bond. This dude, if he get arrested, his bond gonna be high as fuck because he has the ability to leave. And I'm gonna just be honest. If I was his attorney and I were talking to him, because hey, I want my clients to be truthful, it may be time for Diddy to pull a Russell Simmons and do what we like to call a LR. A LR stands for liquidate and relocate. Sell all your shit and move somewhere where there's no extradition. But hey, I'm not saying it's time for that, but that should be an option somebody with this much money is considering. So what Brian Gumble in that video was just talking about is the stage that we're at right now. We're in the beginning stages where initial fact finding was done. There was probable cause to get a search warrant. Now they've done an investigation. I mean, now they're picking up all the stuff. They're going to do further investigations. Anything that moves on from this would likely be them presenting a shitload of evidence to the grand jury, trying to get the grand jury to return a true bill. That essentially means that is enough for us to charge you with this crime. Let me go through a little bit of these comments first. Did he not learn from R. Kelly? I was thinking like this is actually more analogous to Jeffrey Epstein. Like, hey, Diddy got he got Epstein money, man. Billionaire, like, I don't know, man. Like, allegedly, according to reports, Diddy looking like the black Jeffrey Epstein, and he kind of made his son look like the lady who's in prison, Ghislaine Maxwell. That's crazy if that shit is true. But hopefully, I don't know, but that's crazy. R. Kelly wrote so many songs, it's hard to totally cancel them. They from the same genre. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, man. Every now and then, I'm in my car, 3 knocks at the door. Man, I tell you, man, hey, that R. Kelly album slap. Hey, you have to be able to separate the art from the person. I mean, don't we do that all the time with like, I don't know, like Abraham Lincoln? So you got to separate the art from the person. I'm a strong proponent of let's separate the art and the person. Going through these comments, his son thought they were going to just step into dad's shoes and run with it. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, this kind of reminds me, it's kind of not analogous, but it is, right? When you're young and if you grew up and all you knew is your parents had access and ability to pretty much do whatever the flying hell they want, it's really hard for a child who grows up like that to understand or really have a real moral compass, because their gauge for what's right and what's wrong is kind of, misconstrued. It's kind of out of whack because what they perceive for so long, they just believe there's absolute truth and that's the way it is. Prime example, I always use this. Back in 2003, when your boy was deployed in Iraq, one of the toughest people ever who the army came across was Saddam Hussein's grandsons. Whew. That's a whole nother story. But think about it. If somebody who grew up as Saddam Hussein's grandsons, this dude was in power damn near their whole life, their compass for what was wrong, what was right, was jaded as hell. It was jaded. They probably thought that shit was normal. And so I think we got a little bit of that syndrome. Like, yo, when you grow up in very affluent family where things may be abnormal, you probably start to take that shit as normal and think that, like, yo, this is just how we do, you know what I mean? Because we balling like that, which is crazy as hell. But I think that there may be some legitimacy to that logic. Yeah. Grooming sons, I definitely believe it. Hey, like I said, man, they gonna raise them up however, whatever they see, that's kind of what they gonna remember. The old drug commercial. Where did you get these drugs from, Tommy? I learned from watching you. I just showed my age, but hey, that shit has some truth to it. Yeah, like those Tate brothers. Yeah, I forgot all about them. They was crazy as hell too. Crazy as hell too. Brian Gumble was canceled too. Brian Gumble got canceled. What Brian Gumble do? Did I miss that? I made a Brian Gumble joke. Brian Gumble, I thought he was square. Brian Gumble got canceled. Oh man, then they canceled Brian Gumble. Ain't nobody safe from cancellation. Man, if this is true, he's going to jail forever. He's still gonna be in that jump. Elvis was a good one. Abraham Lincoln. Hey man, hey, I'm just saying, man. Like, hey, Lincoln did some good things, but we gotta separate the good from the bad and the works that people do on this earth. Let's just put it like that. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, brother had to do some real work. They was working my black ass, but hopefully tomorrow I could be back to getting home at the right time, going to the gym, and doing my usual videos in my usual official black t-shirt. That's the game plan. But let's go and finish watching this video. We're gonna talk about it. Y'all know y'all not gonna cancel Diddy because the music is too good, man. We can't cancel Diddy, man. I listen to a song, at least one song probably produced by Diddy at least every day. That's how large his catalog is. At least, I'm not gonna say if not once a day, at least once every 2 days, I probably listen to a song that Diddy touched. Pause. I probably listen to a song that Diddy had his hands on. I probably listen to a song that Diddy produced. Yeah, that's better. We leave it at that. Today, I listened to 112 Cupid. See, can't avoid it, man. The music is too damn good.
What is that probable cause? We don't know. But let's go back to what Josh Campbell talked about, which are those various lawsuits. Now, lawsuits are civil actions in nature. They're not criminal at all. But what they do is they give authorities some guidelines and guideposts with respect to alleged conduct that was engaged in, with regard to who it was engaged in, what activities there were, what it involved. And so that, if there's an investigation, could serve as a source of plentiful information. That information could be further investigated, right, by certainly this Homeland Security agency. And as a result of that, they can work with their local law enforcement partners. What does that mean? It means that they collectively, law enforcement, try to determine whether there's reason to believe that crimes were committed, and, were those crimes carried out and associated in any way we don't know, with Sean Combs. And so that remains to be seen. But before authorities, Wolf, can get into the home or property of anyone, you have to establish some firm basis to do that. And that is what at least we can conclude, that they had reason to believe that there were crimes involving sex trafficking, apparently, and that these areas potentially can give more information with respect to the specifics. And I think they would be looking for computer devices and other devices which would seem to indicate or give information as to whether there was any criminality very early in the process. But certainly we know that these have been carried out, and we'll see what, if any, information is gleaned to be suggestive of any criminality.
Very interesting. Josh, let me get back to you. You know the FBI very well. Under what circumstances would raids like these be conducted?
Well, this would require, if it is indeed a search that's being conducted, it would require federal officers, in this case with Homeland Security investigations, going to...
Man, that's a big ass house. That shit is crazy. That dude's house is crazy. Like, yeah, I don't know how many people they had to do a search of that place. but they had to have a shitload of people because that's a big ass house. And they probably got all sorts of secret compartments and shit in it. That's crazy.
A judge and seeking a warrant, indicating that we believe that evidence of a crime could be located in these residences. And then this third party, an independent judge, has to approve that warrant. And then you see take place what's happening now on our screen. I particularly want to focus on, you see that large RV-looking vehicle there. This is the mobile command post that federal agencies will send whenever they're going to be somewhere, likely for a long time. I mean, if you look at these residences, we're talking about very large estates. And so, as Joey was mentioning, something as simple as a thumb drive or anywhere where electronic media could be stored, if it's on that warrant, authorities can search that residence top to bottom, looking for any type of device, any type of storage mechanism that fits within the four corners of that search warrant. Now, again, I'll caution, we don't know specifically why they were there. It does tell us, I think, that just because you see that large posture of all of these federal vehicles that are there, including this mobile command post, this was likely not something as simple as an arrest where you show up and you find a person that you're seeking, but likely more along the lines of a search warrant, which falls in line with what HSI told us in that statement when they say law enforcement actions. That's something that we often hear from federal agents as a euphemism for conducting some type of search. But again, both of these residences, both where I am here in LA, it's just a few miles here from the CNN LA bureau where this search is taking place. Also in Miami, you see this large cadre of federal agencies descending on those homes. Again, the big question now, what are they looking for? We're waiting for specifics on that as this search continues.
And Joey, video also shows heavily armed agents entering Diddy's home. How unusual is that?
So it's not unusual. I mean, I think that what law enforcement does is certainly they want to be protective of themselves, potentially to deter any type of activity that could occur of a criminal variety. Not that there would be any, but you never know. And so as a result of that, once they're armed, not only armed literally, but armed with respect to a warrant, that would suggest that they have reason to be there, that there's criminality that would be afoot, potentially, they go, law enforcement does, and they make sure that the area is secure such that they can get any information from that warrant so that they can continue to investigate. Very important to note, Wolf, that these are investigative stages. Warrants are typical in any type of investigation, right? This is the United States of America. Everyone has rights. But you don't get into someone's home without establishing that there may be some what we call indicia of criminality. Law enforcement will evaluate whatever they find in connection with this search. And if that search bears fruit with respect to any potential criminality on any computer devices, any cell phone devices, any thumb drives or anything else, then they will connect the dots. And if it's appropriate, they'll move to the next level. And that could lead to something more serious. Again, all speculation at this point, but we know now that they certainly had enough information to be in California and Miami. What stems from that remains to be seen.
All right, Joey Jackson, Josh Campbell, to both of you, thank you very, very much.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I know his newest baby mama is sick. Nah, she good. She still gonna have that bag. Like, when you a billionaire, it's gonna be a lot for this dude to end up broke. Like, even after going through all this, regardless of the outcome, this dude's still gonna have. I'm sure this dude got money in trust and offshore accounts and all sorts of tomfoolery and debauchery going on with his money. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all think in the next 12 months this dude will be getting arrested? Let me know, yes or no. Put a Y or N in the comments. I'll let y'all know my take in a minute before we wrap all this up. But this is crazy. Let's just think about this, man. Like, everybody from the East Coast, West Coast beef is about to be in jail if they aren't dead. Think about that. This is like just from a hip hop historic context, this shit is crazy. Like, all right, Tupac gone, everybody in the car with Keefe D gone. Keefe D got arrested because he couldn't stop running his mouth for a murder that was done over 2 decades ago. Keefe D in jail saying it was all Puffy. Puffy put a hit on him. Suge Knight in custody for running over somebody with his car, some other nonsense. Now, if this dude go away, that's gonna be a whole generation of hip hop just away in custody. That's absolutely fucking batshit crazy. Like, it's still crazy for me to wrap my mind around this story because this dude just has so much money and so much access where, I don't know. I'm just going to say all of this could have been avoided. Like, I don't know. Like, you worth millions of dollars. Maybe you could get the women without all the extra illegal shit. I don't know. Just the assumption. I'm just assuming that, you can utilize your money as the mechanism as opposed to utilizing the money and all the illegal drugs and all the other stuff that you allegedly have done. But this is going to be wild, man. I don't know. I'll just be honest. Like, I, I, I would be shocked if this doesn't end in formalized criminal charges being filed. I would just be honest. Just me in general. I could count how many instances. Let me see if I can think. How many investigations have I been on or worked where a search warrant wasn't done? Where a search warrant was done, but no criminal charges were filed, or the grand jury. We didn't go before the grand jury to get a true bill. I honestly can't think of one. This sounds crazy. I honestly, and I had a lot of fucking cases. I can't think of one instance or one case where a search warrant was executed and we didn't move forward to the next stage in the grand jury. I just don't think that shit really happened that often, in my personal opinion. Yeah, well, I mean, if he gonna get going, the time to get going is now. Because right now they can't restrict his movement. But I mean, if I were a judge, and it depends where he's actually taken into custody at. But generally, when the bond is put on somebody, the only thing, especially in a criminal case, the only thing that determines your bond is actually not supposed to be based on the severity of the charges. So typically, this sounds crazy because it doesn't happen, but someone in theory who's charged with murder and someone who's charged with, let's say, felony larceny, if both of those people never had a history of missing court, they didn't have a likelihood, a high probability to flee, they always made it to court when they come, your bond is solely tied to, in theory, whether or not you appear for court. If you never had a failure to appear, you always come to court when you have court. Generally, judges aren't supposed to give you a bond because the bonds are solely based on your ability to appear, not necessarily the nature of your charges. But nobody stick to that. Like, let's just be honest. Like, oh, Mr. Murderer, you had a bunch of traffic tickets and you always came to court. Because you always came to court, we're not gonna give you a bond for this murder. Just go ahead and come back to court in 2 months on the 13th. Why don't you? Man, that judge ass will be out of a job so fast. So some states have made it mandatory bonds with regards to certain crimes. So if there's anything, a high-level felony, murder, armed robbery, they have mandatory bonds. Murder, armed robbery in a lot of states have no bond on them. They just change the statute. They're like, yo, if you commit any of these, it's no bond. We don't give a damn if it's your first offense. But this dude is a flight risk. Let's just be honest. Like, if this dude was actually arrested for charges that are 30 years old, right? Hey, it ain't no statute of limitations on human trafficking or sex trafficking. This dude's arrested for charges that may go back 30 years. You don't think in his mind he gonna think, man, I should get the hell out of Dodge while the getting is good. Like, I don't know. Like, that's why we don't see Russell Simmons no more. And I had a chance to meet Russell Simmons, relatively decent guy. But once Russ had all that discussion about what was going on and possible criminal exposure, Russ got the hell up out of here and went to India or Indonesia or Thailand or Taiwan. He went somewhere over there, and he says he still comes back to the U.S. It's just not broadcasted and is very rare. But Diddy has money where he could do what we like to call liquidate and relocate. You sell all your shit, sell Bad Boy, sell Revolt. I think they kicked him off the board of Revolt. But you sell all your assets, liquidate everything. If you worth $1 billion, if you liquidate everything, you probably could get 600-700 million. Well, he under duress, so he may get half of it. He might get 500 million. When you sell everything under duress, you're not gonna make a real killing out of it. But liquidate everything, get the hell out of here, go somewhere where it's no extradition. That's the move that a lot of millionaires, well, not millionaires, a lot of multi-millionaires and billionaires like to make. So, but the dude is definitely flight risk, like hell. Like they say, money make you more of who you are. Yeah, but that's crazy, man. It's crazy too, because like I always say, I think Diddy is the most successful. He's the most successful person in music that, in my opinion, had the least overall musical talent. Okay. Now, business talent, hey, this dude may be one of the best businessmen ever to do it on the hip hop side of the game. But he's one of the most successful persons in the music industry who really lacks musical talent. Like, hey, Diddy, if he had something that was fire, somebody else probably wrote it. He produced a lot of stuff, but how much of that did he really produce? Like the early hits, that was all Stevie J. Y'all just think of Stevie J as a clown from Love and Hip Hop, but all of those Biggie tracks, that was Stevie J. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that dude is very talented, business wise, music wise, but I think he maximized his business and his, in my personal opinion, limited musical talent more effectively than anyone ever in the history. Everybody else who's a hip hop billionaire, I'm like, oh, musically, they might be a genius. Like, I think people will say Dr. Dre might musically be a genius. I think people will say Jay-Z might be a musical. Hell, people will say Kanye West is a musical genius. Like, are we calling Diddy a musical genius? Well, I call him a ruthless businessman, but I don't know if I'm calling Diddy a musical genius. I don't know. It is up for discussion and up for debate, in my personal opinion. That's crazy. Yeah, by design, gatekeeper with skeletons. Yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, hey, just because you got paper and wild out, it doesn't mean that you're untouchable. Okay, everybody can get touched, man. You can, if you can get too big for your britches. All right, you think you just untouchable. You walk around like you, Mr. Untouchable, the Teflon Don. That's not how real life works. Like real life works is like, yo, you get away until you don't. You get away until you don't. In a case like this, oh man, I wish I was a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. I'd be salivating. You know, and I'll tell you, putting somebody like this behind bars, oh man, you could put somebody like this behind bars and then become the mayor, governor. The mayor of New York City is probably a better job to have than the governor of New York. But you could literally win a case like this if you could put somebody with allegations like this and this much power and who's this well known in the custody. Man, that's something you can write that shit all the way to Congress. Like, I mean, it sounds crazy, but this is a really big deal, and somebody's gonna make get a hell of a promotion off of this shit. He thought giving back the royalties was going to save him. I know. It was funny because we had a discussion about that because he gave out the royalties. See, I initially thought he gave back the royalties. One, I'm assuming that he had those royalties for damn near 2.5 decades. So I'm sure all the real money to be made, he probably made it. But I also think he was trying to get some good buzz. One, he probably knew this was coming down the pike, but I also know that he had that Love album dropping, so I know he was trying to get some good buzz and publicity on that. And hey, just as a caveat, I know the album came out, then the Cassie allegations came out, but hey, I listened to that Love album. Hey, it was almost fire. It was two sticks rubbing together, and it started smoking, and it was about to catch on fire until Cassie just filed the lawsuit. Then it just shit all went downhill from there. But the Love album definitely wasn't trash. But yeah, he tried to get back the royalties. I don't know if that was him being genuine, doing the right thing, or him trying to avoid potential karma. But you can't do wrong, allegedly, for so long and think that shit just not gonna come back. That's just not how the world works. Whatever you put out, you get out, and that'll be a damn shame. Like, golly, like I don't know. I don't think. Imagine being a billionaire, then you go from a billionaire to being just in custody. And I'm telling y'all right now, they are not sending. If this results in an arrest, incarceration, a conviction, they is not sending Sean Combs' ass to no club fed. It's a federal prison in Detroit that doesn't even have a fence. They got lines painted on the ground. That's like club fed where all the white collar, multi wealthy guys go. They gonna send Diddy somewhere like Rikers Island. Like it's like they gonna send Diddy somewhere to some supermax federal prison. There's no way they gonna send this dude to Club Med. If this dude does get incarcerated or is arrested, they're gonna make an example out of his ass. And hey, I'm not saying that it's wrong to do that. I'm not saying that it's wrong to do that. Oh yeah, all giving back all the masters. Hey, it's the reason that every artist. I mean, let's just think about it. If you're a ruthless business guy, right? And I think you have to kind of be like that. I ain't gonna say you have to be ruthless to be successful, but you have to have a little bit of an asshole in you to be successful. Shout out to check out this book. It's called Assholeology. But a lot of successful people are kind of assholes, are kind of jerks. I think it kind of goes hands in hand. You have to be a little bit egotistical and have a little bit of a asshole in you to be successful. I think all because a lot of times nobody gonna see your vision, but you got to be hungry, and you kind of being that overconfident asshole is one of the things that's going to get you over the hump. But just think about it: to go from being a billionaire to being in custody, having everything taken away. That's fucking crazy. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like cases like that, that's when you got to start putting people on like suicide watch in custody. Like, if I was at the Federal Bureau of Prisons and they brought this dude in, I'm gonna be like, yo, make sure he ain't got no belt, take his shoelaces out, because this dude may not make it to trial. Like, people who have that far of a fall from wealth to incarceration, man, it's hard for them to deal with that stuff, man. Just look at Jeffrey Epstein. Even though, was it suicide? I don't know. Hey, the jury's still out on that one, but it's not uncommon for people who have a high fall from grace, from being like really affluent to hitting the trenches and being in the ditches in jail. Hey, a lot of times that pressure, man, they can't live with it, and that shit just become too much for them. But yo, that's it. I don't even want to go over the lawsuits, because I'm sure there's a shitload of videos out there where everybody are going over the lawsuits related to Diddy. So I don't like going over those lawsuits. I mean, they're good content, but every time I go over those lawsuits, YouTube be like, whoa, he said the word grape. We got to demonetize this video. And then I got to appeal it and wait for somebody to watch it. I'm like, dude, I'm literally reading off of a legal document, a complaint. But YouTube don't want to hear that nonsense. They don't want nobody to be great. Legacy gone with the wind, wasted, sad. Yeah. But I mean, I'm gonna be honest too. I don't think I don't know if y'all think that this will be the last we hear of somebody big in hip hop getting caught up in some conduct like this. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that I mean, like, it's like an iceberg. Only 30% of the iceberg is outside of the water. The rest of the iceberg you can't see, but it's still there. And so I'll be honest. I think this whole Diddy thing is, you always have to have that real big domino, that first domino to fall over before you see a bunch of other ones falling over. Because let's just think about it. I mean, even if we look at the allegations, just allegations, with a lot of allegations in the complaint, they named Diddy along with other powerful people in the music industry. So I'd be shocked if like Diddy is the one domino that fall over and we don't hear anything else about it. That's just not normally how these things work. Especially if you like Mr. Video Camera Guy. If you Mr. Video Camera Guy, man, you probably sending videos and text messages, all kinds of dumb shit. Just stupid. But hey, that's it for this video. We're gonna get back on a finance topic because I saw an interesting video about trust. Everybody always talk about, oh, put your money in a trust. Put your money in a trust. After we watch this video for the next live, I might do it tomorrow. I don't know, depending how I feel. DFD playing single dad. The missus is on her annual woman's vacation, so I'm just here chilling, playing Mr. Mom, doing the dad thing, dropping them off, picking them up, getting everybody to dance in their activities. I'm just a multi-talented jack of all trades. The house gonna look a mess, but nobody's gonna die. But this next live that I'm gonna do, we're gonna talk about trust and how trustworthy or how much trust should we have in the security of putting your money and your assets in a trust. That's what's gonna be the next topic. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, make sure y'all vote in the poll. Let me know, yay or nay. In the next 12 months, are we gonna see Sean Combs arrested, or do we think in the next 12 months all of this is just gonna go away and we aren't gonna hear anything? Y'all let me know in the comments. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like if you got some value out of it. Y'all take care. Have a blessed one. Thanks for joining. Peace.